Hey, y'all, and welcome to Down and Down, a rabbit hole podcast. I'm Jack.
I'm Buck.
He is.
That was a good intro.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm
I
nice.
thought that
I
was
don't make
being
I don't make
sarcastic
fun
because I
of
made fun of yours.
I don't No, I'm just being the better man.
Oh, you're not a man, you're a rabbit.
The better.
You'll never be better because I'm a jackalope. I come with antlers.
Oh, where I come from, that's just called a defect.
We're from the same place. You're racist.
Oh man. All right. So what are we talking about?
So I sent you this idea to kind of talk about this whole. Well, I'll say it in just a moment, but it kind of within our discussion of what it's going to be, we've kind of built upon it a little bit, I think.
Hmm.
But there's a specific one that we'll get to toward the. We'll look at it toward the later on.
Specific
But
video?
yeah, or
Gotcha. Example.
whatever example, yeah. And that's what kind of spurred this one because it's very relevant right now. Like it just happened within the last month, but or just kind of came to light within the last month. But we're talking about rakes, as in not the garden tool, but the creature, the thing of lore, and along with that, I think we'll hit on some other things.
Yeah.
So,
All right. Let's get ready to pile up these leaves and let's get into it.
ow, up these leaves.
Down and down the rabbit hole. Just how deep does it go? Where it stops, nobody knows. So let's go down the rabbit hole. Down and down the rabbit hole. Down and down the rabbit hole.
Okay, so my first question is, and I don't even know if you know the answer to this. I didn't plan this question, but where in the world does the name rake come from?
Creepypasta.
Creepypasta. Explain that.
I don't know exactly what they mean by it, but it is the rake is a more modern creature or more modern what folklore.
Are we talking about
And
like in line with like Slender Man and that kind of thing?
yes,
Okay.
yes, yes. So the rake was kind of created, and I did a lot of research on it. From what I could find, there's these stories that go back to like the 1800s or whatever. But from everything that I can find, those stories are not actually true. They were all planted as part of the lore, and that it actually came about in like 2005
Okay.
or something like that. And what's supposed to be one of the most like current stories, which started everything, was it happened in 2003.
Hmm.
So like 2 years before they created it. I don't. So it's kind of hard because to tell what's actually supposed to be true and what's not because it's literally been planted to be this lore.
Yeah.
But that's kind of where it started from. But then there started to be sightings.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, that sounds like the rake. That sounds like this. One of the very first videos that I actually kind of found that had this, and we can pull up, I don't have the original video. I have done searches and searches and searches to find this video again. I can only find videos referencing
Hmm.
that video now. And the one that I have is actually in Spanish. So honestly, if you want to pull it up and we can see it and I can
Okay.
talk and we don't even have to put the Spanish on so that you can kind of see what's happening. You might want to fast forward a little bit because what you see is this guy and this girl and he seems to be hearing these noises. He's kind of haunted by this thing
Okay.
in the woods and then one night he they like he comes downstairs and he's like videoing out his back window. And this is the part that I remember seeing because I thought it was like off of a screened in back porch. There's like this little bush in the backyard. And this little white like stark white, naked humanoid creature climbing on its hands comes out from behind this bush and kind of rushes toward them. I don't even know if that's the original one that I saw, but it looks a lot like the one. The one that I remember seeing, it seemed to like kind of bounce on its hands a little bit. So
Hmm.
I don't know if they're all within the same, but it gave me this, it felt like it was the same place.
Hmm.
So that was when I first started to kind of go down the whole rake rabbit hole and started figuring out what it was and looking into it. But that's been a while.
You said that was, does that date back to 2005 also?
I don't think so. A lot of the comments and everything were saying I think that was AI or whatever. The problem is when I first saw this was before AI took off and was able to do some of the things that it can do now. However, that doesn't mean that it's real. And I
Yeah.
don't really think that it is. Again, I'm not even sure that that's the very first one that I saw because
Hmm.
the first one seemed to kind of bounce in a more creepy way.
Yeah.
The first image that I think the first image of a rake, which I think dates back to like 2005, is this one.
So this is the first thing that I ever saw associated with the word rake.
Yeah.
Um, I think for me, obviously this is a trail cam, and I think people have said, "Oh, it's AI," and I do think they've taken this image and done some AI stuff with it since AI took off. I think this is definitely a photoshopped image.
Absolutely.
Because yeah, just looking at it, I think that it's clear that that thing's not really there when you really study it.
Oh yeah.
But it is a very creepy image. And the funny thing, like when I first saw this, I was like, "Oh, that's a Wendigo." Um, like
The way that they're supposed to actually
yeah,
be.
like
Yeah.
not like the deer skull and horn thing, but like the actual
Right.
like the
Antlers.
lore behind. Yeah,
Antlers.
yeah. Um, but so and when I first saw this, this kind of made I don't remember the creator, and so I'm not. I might show like we'll show some clips of it, but I don't know who to really attribute these videos to. But I saw a video of a guy saying he's like, I keep hearing noises at night, so I'm just gonna sit here in my sunroom and record. And you see a figure like this, kind of like start creeping in through the weeds because they had like really tall weeds. And he wasn't it wasn't crawling on its hands, but it was like crouched and
Heads down in the weeds, right? And its back
heads
kind of
down.
out.
And then when it goes away, it backs out. It doesn't turn around.
And he runs, right? Is this
Um,
the same one that I'm thinking of?
he's literally like in his sunroom with the lights off,
Oh,
looking through his looking through his windows. So like I don't even know that the thing knew he was there if the thing actually was really a thing.
so that's
But
not the one I was thinking of, but go ahead.
and then there's another one that you and I saw a very, very long time ago. It's in Spanish, and it's these people going through the woods at night, and they start seeing feathers on the ground,
Mm.
and then they finally get up to this humanoid thing, bald, really gangly, and so skinny that you can see its ribs, and that one of them steps on a stick and it turns around and its face is kind of like grotesque and the eyes look like they glow. And I feel like on the initial thing that we saw it said fallen angel.
Mm.
And you and I
I remember
actually
that.
found that video together. And this was we had to be in high school when we found that video. Maybe college, maybe.
Yeah.
But since then I have seen people say, "Oh, was that the rake or whatever?" And it's kind of like I don't think so. I think that was clearly a staged thing. And they had their bald friend out there who just was really skinny. Um, but but yeah, so like there's some really interesting things around this because so many people are talking about all their experiences. I've heard of hunters at nighttime talking about hearing women's voices calling for help and seeing in thermal vision something that looks like that.
Yeah.
Or yeah, and that's terrifying because I mean, Jack and I have a history of deer hunting and
Yes.
going in the woods at night. That just makes it scary, especially since it's supposed to be particularly an Appalachian creature.
And we are
In Appalachia,
in yeah, in the Appalachians.
somewhere in Appalachia. Who knows where that's at?
If
Exactly.
you couldn't already tell by at least some of the way that we talk.
Yeah.
Um, and in the, Appalachia is full of these kind of creatures, these myths, this kind of lore, and this one kind of just gets tacked on there with all of the rest.
Right.
And you're right, there are all of these stories where you have it sounds like someone calling out for help, but a lot of times it doesn't sound quite human and it's a little robotic or it's whatever. And then
Mhm.
you have things like this image here, which doesn't look like anything.
It
And
looks
it's
like
it's
somebody kind of like have it like raising themselves up like by like putting their arms behind their back and then lifting their body up, but
oh
then
yeah,
somebody
I
went in there and
turn
turned
the
the
head
head around
around.
backwards.
There's people that have tried to consider this to be a rake. The thing is that rakes and skinwalkers are getting tied together a lot
Hmm.
now, along with some of these.
Skinwalkers are particularly something out west, like
Yes,
with Navajo. Is that not? Is it
I
Navajo
think
lore?
it. I want to think that's correct. But definitely a Native American thing versus where you have some of these other things that are not tied to a specific race or anything like that. They are more in an area, kind of like we
Hmm.
talk about with
Geographical
Appalachia.
location. Yeah.
Right. But so you have the rakes and you have the wendigos you mentioned, which are more Native American, but they also
Hmm.
tend to be aerial, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. Um, so and if you look in the and to hit on what you were saying, if you're actually looking into all of that kind of lore, they didn't have that original look. The Wendigos didn't have that whole skull and antler look. They looked actually more like what we consider the rakes to look like. In a lot of ways, they were these emaciated people, and they were known for eating other people.
Some of you guys don't know about us is we are avid D&D players, and I don't think I've said that before. Maybe I have said that
I don't
before.
think so.
We might talk about that later. But one time, Jack, who is our dungeon master, and that's not a sex thing. Um, he's just the guy that makes all the mechanics of the and the rules and management of the game happen. And we were having combat, and Jack was like, "Hey, yeah, I'm gonna create a Wendigo," and it was so scary looking. It had blood around its mouth on the image that he had created, and yeah, I would never want to come across that thing in in the woods. But yeah, like
Yeah,
I wonder.
I'm a DM for D&D. Has nothing to do with S&M or BDSM. So
No, no, that's just something between him and Jill. Um,
telling secrets, telling secrets.
I'm
No,
making up stories.
completely made up stuff. Um,
Oh, but so I kind of always wondered if the rake, the Wendigo, and what a lot of people called the No You Didn't, like all kind of like had some sort of like connection to each other. You know what I
Or
mean?
the hide behind. And the
Hide
hide behind.
behind, yeah.
So
Yeah.
the no you didn't is really just a rule. If you hear something, if you think you see something, no you didn't.
Well, I'm saying like I
Yeah.
wonder if like the
All
rake
that
would be
goes
the
together.
thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
Um,
like you said, we're in the Appalachia, so there's two garden tools you have to watch out for in our kind of area, and that is the rakes and the hose. So,
Fun story that has nothing to do with what we're talking about. You know the story. So, whenever me and my wife were dating, I was driving home, and Jack, you know this road very well. I'm not going to say the road, but we would have to. You had to get on this road quite a lot whenever your parents and you were living in the city that you lived in,
mhm.
because your dad's workplace was on this road. And so there's a particular spot about this road where a lot of quote unquote hoes would congregate, but
Mhm.
these are actual prostitutes, like really, really like rough looking,
Mhm.
drug addicted women. And one time I was coming home from dropping my girlfriend, now wife at the time, um, off back at school, and we're talking like it had to be like 11, 12 o'clock, and I stopped at that stoplight right there where that gas station is. I think it was a Spinks.
Mhm.
And this really like on the heavy side woman, probably she looked like she could have been in her 50s, but because she clearly was a drug user, she could have been in her like late 30s, early 40s, just because that kind of stuff will do that damage
Yeah.
to you. She started yelling at me while I was sitting there at the red light, and she started walking over to me, and I'm just not looking at her. But then I finally look over, and she has lifted her shirt up.
Oh. Oh.
Yeah, and trying to get me to like roll my window down, and I just look at her and I'm like, "Oh my God." And then the light turns green, and then she's like flipping me off and all kind of stuff because I drove off without hearing what she had to say. It was a fun time.
Mm.
Um, yeah.
So she wanted. What you telling me is, she saw a buck, but she wanted a John
Yeah, I wish I had a rake to like
to get her away,
to
or a
get her
shovel.
away, like an actual rake. Get
You
on out
needed
of
a
here.
shovel. Uh,
Sex work is work, Jack.
well, you know what my brother would have said. You got flashed.
Yeah, I know what he would have said. We ain't gonna say it.
Anyway, we're way off topic. Let's get back on this. So,
Why'd you
so
bring that up, hose? God, it's all your fault.
it's all my fault. You don't want to hear reliving your glory days. Recently, you sent me this video of this girl
Hmm.
who is outside.
Yeah,
Um,
and we'll actually give credit to this video. The it's on a TikTok channel called Real D's Dark Adventures. D's
we
Dark
just
Adventures.
and you just got we talking about you get flashed.
Oh, that's the TikTok channel.
Were they D's?
D's Dark Adventures. Real
Were they
D's Dark
D's,
Adventures.
Buck? Were the ones you got flashed?
Um, I want to make sure she gets all the credit. This is her channel. She apparently does like paranormal, cryptid type stuff. Um, but she, if if this if this is real, it would be a pretty terrifying thing.
I've started the camera up like 18 times and done an intro. I just don't know. Nothing's really happening. I'm scared. I'm not scared. I'm nervous, but what was that?
So that definitely looked like a real thing poking its head out of the bushes there, both times.
Does remind me, since you've kind of hit on some of these South American things. There's been a few things that they like consider them to be gnomes or whatever kinds of creatures down there, and it kind of reminds me of those because it'll be like some people hanging out and they're filming. It's like film with a potato, because it was probably filmed in the early 2000s when
Hmm.
we all first got camera phones, right?
Yep.
They, but then you have this little creature that kind of like scurries by or runs by, and it kind of has like this same kind of a feel, like,
Hmm.
ooh, that could be a thing. That
Yeah.
what if it is?
So I want to say that we can't rule out that creators like this, her whole channel is her going on these solo hunts and stuff like that. Now, it's not only that, but like she has people go with her sometimes, and she has all these encounters. And there's some really creepy things. I've seen her go in the woods and she sees something with red eyes off like out like kind of just out of her light, and then it'll move. She ran away from it and all and ended up running into this field, and there was just this, it looked like a creature with like totally black fur and red eyes, and it started like crouching up and down like, and who knows, like the I don't want to rule out that these could in fact be some dude in a suit. 100% could just be like, anytime we see a rake or something like that, and it's almost always not super clear. We don't get details. All we get is it looks naked, it looks bald, it looks very pale skinned, and we see facial shape. We don't always see eyes. As a matter of fact, I would say the vast majority of the time we do
You
not even
don't.
make out
Yeah,
eyes.
you don't.
So they, it could be that they bought like one of those body suits that goes over, like the green screen suits or something like that.
They actually make a bodysuit that looks like a rape.
Right. And it might not even
And
be
I've
that
seen and I
elaborate.
have seen
Like,
some that actually you can tell that's what they did.
yeah. Um, but so I don't want to rule that out because these are content creators. They're producing stuff for consumption. So it's in their best interest to actually see something that gets people being like, "What was that?"
I
And
think though, if you see a whole lot of stuff, if you are able to catch a lot of stuff on camera, it makes me second guess you a little more.
if you always happen to have something, I know I agree with that too. So there's this weird line when it comes to cryptids and haunted stuff and that kind of stuff. It's like, oh, if why is there never any really good footage of stuff like Bigfoot? Why is there never really clear footage of Bigfoot? It always feels like it's filmed on some really terrible thing.
Toaster filled
Yeah,
with a toaster.
yeah. Or like you're so far away that you have to zoom into the absolute worst quality on your phone, and you're never close enough to get enough details to be able to tell, is this a guy potentially covered in a fursuit, or a real creature with actual like physiology that you can see like under the fur or whatever. I know that one Bigfoot um film that everybody always uses as like the staple one that was filmed in the 70s. They're like, "Oh, we can see like the musculature under its fur," and you can't.
Yeah.
You can't. You can tell that maybe it was a female, but there has been like a guy that worked with that group of people who's come out and said, "I was the guy in the suit."
Mm.
And he had like restraining orders and stuff like that against him. So like there's all this kind of stuff and you can't really tell. But I really, as somebody who grew up deer hunting, I want to know how there is no, in the last 10 years of really good cameras on phones, how there is no real footage of a guy in a deer stand getting a, he's just up there 20 feet up in the tree getting footage or a clear picture with no grain, no refutation, this is a real thing of a Bigfoot or any sort of creature like this. So that's the lacking side of it, but then you have like that one person who just everything seems to happen to them.
Yeah.
And the argument is, oh, well, that's because I go chasing it. And I'm just like, yeah, I feel like your friend's out in the woods
Well, you just
waiting
happen
on
to
you.
have a friend
Yeah.
who looks like Doug Jones in costume. And if y'all
Yeah.
don't know who Doug Jones is, Doug Jones plays like every monster creature
Yeah.
ever. He played Abe Sapien. He played Billy in Hocus Pocus. He played the
A
water
similar
creature
creature and
in The Shape of Water. Yeah, he's been in everything. He was in Pan's Labyrinth, just everything.
Mhm.
And he's just this very skinny guy, and
Bald
is
too, right?
he is, and he plays a typically plays these kind of characters that not just anybody can play. He's got that emaciated almost frame that works so well for him. All that to say, it would take a very slender person
Mhm.
in a costume to be able to pull that off. And especially to like, you're right, when you're looking at things, you wouldn't have to be so skinny if you're doing a Bigfoot, if you're doing a Sasquatch. But
Mhm.
for something like a rake, you would. But there's also been the idea that it started, and I don't think I said this earlier, it started on 4chan.
Mm.
So that's kind of where it really gets its start. Like it's a creepy pasta, but it really kind of started building on 4chan. And you're like, well, is this even a real thing or
Yeah.
is it not? Is the thing that people are claiming to see even the same thing, or did they just tack that name on it because it looks like this other creature, like the thing in that video that we just looked at?
Right.
If it were real, what is that?
Yeah.
And I think that is where we have to kind of start, because you can easily, in today's day and age, with costuming, things that were not easy to do at one time, having good costumes. I mean, let's be honest, we've come a long way from just really bad costuming being on TV and in movies.
Hmm.
I mean, heck, the Incredible Hulk TV show was a man painted green
Yeah. With a bad wig,
with a really bad wig, and I think like some facial
contacts.
prosthetics.
Yeah. I don't even know that he had many, if he had hardly any facial prosthetics at all, because
I think he did. I mean, he looked very similar, but I think he had like a nose, I think, or something
oh,
on
okay. Well, that mean he just had a very prominent face. That actor did
it. Yeah.
anyway. But you're right. I mean, costuming has come a severely long way, and we live in this age where cosplay is such a huge hobby
Mm-hmm.
now.
Mm-hmm.
People will spend thousands and thousands of dollars, and the functionality of these costumes is wild. Like
Right.
you'll see people having totally designed Iron Man costumes that obviously they don't make him fly, but they have machinations in them and
Mechanation.
machinery is what I was trying to say. Machination is a different word, but they have all this mechanical stuff in there, and then you'll have somebody using prosthetic with um just makeup and paint and all
And
that
what
kind of
gets me
stuff, and it
too with
looks
all of this,
real.
yeah, and what gets me is there you can watch people make it out of foam and then it looks fabulous. Like it's
Yeah.
like what is fabulous? But and then you have these and then you do have these other ones that you can tell put like a lot of money into it because they have machinations. But no, they do. They move or they light up and they're dressed like Tony Stark and the face opens up and it reveals it. Like
Yeah.
there's so much cool stuff that they can do now that they couldn't do. So when Bigfoot was kind of on the rise, when that famous photo that everybody knows. If when that was a thing, I know people were like, it was just a somebody in a gorilla costume. I'm like, it doesn't look like a gorilla costume because I watched shows from that time period and gorillas, their costumes sucked. Okay, let's just call it what it was because I think there's been several different shows where they had bears or gorillas. I think the first one that I really can think of is Gilligan's Island, and there was like gorillas on there sometimes, and they didn't look like gorillas; they looked like somebody in a costume.
Yeah, that's true.
And at that, and I'm thinking, so how did some random person, have a better costume than what Hollywood had at the time? And I'm not saying that
That's a fair point.
I'm not saying that it's real either, because it is very grainy. But we are in a time now where we have that, and we have AI
Hmm.
at our fingertips, um, and we have people who have abilities to do CGI
Hmm.
at home, and so it, we have to be careful because I think it is easier to fake things now
Yeah.
than it has been. And maybe that's just me. What do you think?
I think that when it comes to the 70s, the 70s image, the video of Bigfoot or whatever, I think that it most of the time when you would see stuff like that, it would be a man in a very like saggy looking costume,
Mhm.
not filled out, and a very floppy mask and that kind of stuff. And a lot of times you see these kinds of things in like sitcoms, like
Right.
particularly like Gilligan's Island. I think that it'd have been pretty easy to stuff a costume full of stuff to make it fit look more real. Because people knew, oh, these look like costumes and that kind of stuff.
Sure.
But but all that to say, do I think it was a person in a costume in that video? Yes, I absolutely do, because I think there's evidence to support that.
Sure.
Just based on, like I said, the guy claiming that he was in the costume. Um, but the um the other thing is there's just you're absolutely right. There's so much at our fingertips now that makes it like really hard to tell what's what. I mean, the Yeti vlogs and Bigfoot diaries and the Yowie, all that stuff. That, like, while these AI generated videos, they have like this hyper realism to them that you can still tell that it's not quite real. It's still extremely good looking. And if you put it on if you prompt the AI to be like, all right, make it look like it's on a really bad quality camera, like what we always see, it's almost indiscernible because the quality, it doesn't have to worry about emulating perfect imagery. It needs it to look grainy. It needs it to look like it was filmed on somebody's ring cam or somebody's um, security camera that's filming in their backyard at their trampoline where all these rabbits start jumping on it. And obviously that was a real thing that went around and a lot of people thought it was real and it wasn't because it does look real. But
Mhm.
I think there is something to where things look like better quality. I don't know if you've seen there's these videos circulating now about quote unquote chiropractors, and they'll start doing chiropractic stuff, and then all of a sudden the chiropractor will grab the person and like throw them on the wall.
Oh yeah.
And what the first time I saw one of these, I was like, this is AI.
Yeah.
As soon, and I can't exactly tell you how I can tell. Like,
No, because I felt the same way when I saw one of those. And I was like, oh, this is AI.
and they're not bad quality looking footage or anything like that. There's just something about it that just doesn't
It's not
feel
quite
real.
real. Hmm.
Um, but I think the dangerous thing with this is the uh the low quality replication stuff.
Sure.
And like this was recorded on your phone at nighttime versus versus recorded on a good lens and
Sure.
good sensor camera and that kind of stuff. But I don't know. I guess my question for you is do you think that any of this stuff could be real?
So we've talked about how things can be faked. And one thing that cannot be faked is an actual 911 call.
Hmm.
And that is the thing that kind of sent me down this rabbit hole because it's been proven that this was an actual 911 call. And I think the call actually took place in 2021, but it's just now started to come out and kind of gain some traction.
Hmm.
In fact, I think it was July 31st in Pender County, North Carolina.
North Carolina. Where's Pender County?
I don't even know. And you know, but I think, well, let's listen to it.
Tender County 911, what's the address of your emergency?
I'm driving on 210. I just crossed the Black River, and I thought I saw a guy standing on the side of the road bleeding.
Okay, where are you at, sir?
I'm on 210. I just crossed the Black River. I'm heading towards 53 East. I just passed Patriots Watch.
Okay, so you're over near Morse Creek?
Yes.
Okay. And did you saw a man standing on the side of the road?
What the?
What was that, sir?
That's not human! That's not human!
Sir, are you okay, sir?
There's something in the bed of my truck!
Okay, what's in the road?
No, it's not in the road. It's in my truck. In the bed.
There's something in the bed of your truck?
Yes, ma'am. I just turned on my bed lights for my truck, and there's something in my bed.
Okay, sir, when you say something, what do you mean?
I just knocked it off of the bed of my truck and went over my roof.
Okay, what was it?
Yes, sir, I'm familiar with the area. Sir, are you okay, sir? Listen, I don't believe that this is acted. I think that it's genuine. I don't know. I'm not saying what I think about everything, what it is. Just I think that the call is real. I mean, I don't think it's fake. But she was either a really bad 911 operator because,
Yeah.
or because if this was acted, they picked the worst actor for it.
Hmm.
Oh,
But the guy
the
was
guy.
pretty good
That's
if he was an actor.
that's why exactly. That's why I say I think it's genuine. His is too. I don't know. Um, and but so you know that too. These stories about 'cause the area that they're in has a history of, I believe, Civil War activity.
Hmm.
You know the kind of the area that we live in. There are places near here that have those same kind of stories, where people claim to see people in, the uniforms, the old gray uniforms or whatever.
Hmm.
And so that's what he says he sees this man who looks like he's hurting, he's bleeding. I have found, and I found where a lot of people have used this interview because he's only done, as far as I can find, this guy has only done one interview. Has his back to the camera the whole time because he doesn't want any attention from it. He doesn't want people to know who he is, which also kind of gives credence to the story. He's not chasing clout. So, but we have these stories. That's what caused him to first stop.
Right.
Um, and he talks about that in that video, in that interview. And and he gives a description of what he saw. Let's take a look at that.
It looks like there's I'd say probably a 30-something-year-old man standing in that ditch wearing what looks like an old Civil War uniform, just covered head to toe in blood. And the uniform was torn as well. That threw me off because I didn't expect to see it at like 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Well, I'm calling 911 after I see him to report that, because for all I know, it could have just been a normal guy that was injured and needed needed emergency help. It looked like what had happened is he hit his head on something.
Okay.
And the blood was just pooling down over his face and torso.
Okay.
And well, as I was calling, everything seemed perfectly normal. Just quick phone call to 911, let them know, hey, there's a guy out here, and try to find somewhere safe to park so that way I can take them to him. Well, as you know from the 911 call, right as soon as I reported that, I already had my window up at that point. All of a sudden, I heard a massive bang on my truck, and my truck bounced down from the rear, like I was pulling a heavy trailer and I hit a pothole.
Wow.
And so I'm sitting there going, what the hell was that? Which I'm pretty sure you heard me yell, what the hell? I turned on my my bed light, and I looked in my rearview mirror, and all I saw was this white, like snow white face right up against my rear windshield, like it was looking into my truck trying to see what it could see. It had shallow sunken eyes. It had no nose. Just think if you took skin and put it on a human skull and stretched it thin. Couldn't see any ears, just that. And immediately I just started screaming. I didn't realize until afterwards that I had said that's not human on the call, because it was just the first thing I started screaming, because I was terrified. I didn't have my firearm with me, nothing. All I had was a wood splitting axe. That's all I had. So, and my truck is loud as is, and it picks up speed fairly easily. Well, my truck at the time, it had a gas-powered 6-liter V8 Vortec on it, and it was a proper dual exhaust, hence why I had the window up, because that truck is nice and loud.
Okay.
Well, I'm doing in between like 55, 60 miles an hour when this happens, and I just stomped on the gas for a second. When I looked at the speedometer before I slammed on my brakes, I was doing maybe 80. And I slammed on those brakes with all my might, and I went from like 80 miles an hour down to like 35 in just like a couple of seconds. And all I see is this super scrawny long body just fly over my truck in a ball rolling. And as I then swerve to the left and get back in the travel lane, and I floor it. And as I'm swerving to the left, I see it stand up, and it is easily taller than that truck.
No way.
I'm 5'10". The truck is about 2 inches taller than I am. And this thing was easily like maybe 7 feet.
Wow.
And as I pass it, I look in my mirror and I see it bolt to the left into the woods, and it looked like I don't even know what the hell, because it looked like somebody took a normal human and stretched them out.
What is that? I believe he saw something.
Now the video that was like the channel that actually is showing us about this 911 call is called Carolina Case Files, which I feel like there probably would be some actual research on a channel like this with, I mean, it's got a pretty good following, 32,000 followers.
I have Never been one to originally believe in things like Bigfoot, Sasquatch. But when you start to look at the stories of it, and it's kind of almost because you have Yetis and you have these things, and they do kind of cover. They're almost worldwide. And there's the part of me who says, well, that questions, is it real or is it not?
Hmm.
If it is, if it's not real, why haven't we found them? Or if it is real, why haven't we found them? And if it's not real, what's the point
Hmm.
in making up these stories? Now today, people do a lot of times want to put things online that's just not true. But that has not always been the case when stories like this came about. And clearly this guy doesn't seem to really want the attention from it.
Hmm.
And so I guess part of me, there is also this part of me that tries to rectify it with my faith and be like, is this demonic? Is it demons taking on a form to scare people? Is it, you know, is that something? These are just thoughts that I've had. And I'm not saying one way or the other anymore because I'm open to looking at, are these creatures something that's always been around? Are they, if they are real, let's say that.
Right.
If they are real, is it something that's been around that is kind of ancient? I don't know that I would put them with fallen angel,
Hmm.
all of that. And I'm sure that that's probably, I
What a
know some
lot.
people,
It's the Nephilim.
that's about to say, I'm sure there's a lot of people that think it's the Nephilim, and I know that there's also a lot of people who probably think that they are aliens if they believe in aliens. And the reason I say
Mhm.
that is because they kind of fit that alien description, right?
Yeah, I've heard it. I've heard them actually described like looking kind of like an alien.
I've seen people describe them in the same way. So I don't think it would be too far of a leap for people, if they believe in aliens,
Hmm.
to say that that's what they are.
Yeah. So, what is your stance? You think that stuff like this, like cryptids, could be there could be they could be real and like actual real creatures, not demonic or anything like that?
I've always had like a strong stance on things that when we get to spiritual stuff, I don't really believe in ghosts, and you
Hmm.
know that. However, we are constantly finding things in our world, and especially in the sea, because the sea is so kind of unexplored
Mm.
to a degree. There's a whole lot that we can't get to, and things are popping up. But there's also been small creatures and other creatures that we find and that we either didn't know existed or we haven't known about them for a long time. There are things that they thought were previously extinct, and then they find, evidence of them just being really endangered,
Hmm.
And so I guess there's a part of me that says, is there a possibility that this is something that has been around and we just have not discovered that yet? Absolutely.
Yeah. I think for a lot of people, especially, I mean, honestly, both when it comes to our faith, like people who believe in in the Bible and just Christianity in general versus people who have no faith, and that's pretty much their religion. I think the people with no faith who believe in things like this kind of look at these things as like a trump card in a lot of ways.
Mm.
Oh, there's proof of this, so this doesn't coincide with scripture. And then people within Christianity also have that same like issue, like, oh, I don't believe it because it doesn't coincide with scripture.
Right.
And
Right.
I would not say I'm a believer in in most cryptids or cryptids in general. If I were to choose, I would say I
Right.
don't believe in Bigfoot.
Right.
Um,
Same.
However, my stance is, could it be real?
Right.
Yes.
Which
And
is
I
what I was
don't and
saying.
I don't believe that it contradicts scripture, because scripture is not an exhaustive knowledge book. It gives us the Bible gives us what we need to know about our faith,
Right.
not about every single thing that exists in the world, and it's kind of dumb. I think really what it boils down to is like the hard thing that people would have with stuff like Bigfoot or the rake or whatever is that they look pretty humanoid, and it's like, oh well, there's something human about them because they look humanoid. And my thought is that doesn't make them human. That doesn't make them close to human. If that guy's description of a rake is real, a creature that has no nose is way different than humans are.
Yeah.
And and so do you want to hear my theory on the whole thing though? And this
Sure.
actually extends into Bigfoot too. So there's this uh there's this guy that kind of pops up on my social media and YouTube stuff. His channel's called The Supernatural Sleuth. He's a real southern guy. I think he's either like a security guard or in law enforcement, but he always wears like a uniform with some sort of
Mm.
like badge on it or something like that. Really deep southern accent. I don't know what part of the South he's from, but his whole channel is telling spooky stories about Appalachia. And I'm not gonna show the whole video, but I want to credit him to it because this is just one of the examples of these things that I've seen. But he tells a story about this guy from Ohio, and he decides to travel down to the Smoky Mountains with his he travels down through the Smoky Mountains with his girlfriend, and instead of like staying in hotels, they decide to like pull off on side roads and stuff like that and camp whenever they're having to sleep and stuff like that. And one night they pull off on an old logging road, and they park, and they're sleeping in the car instead of camping in a tent. And they start hearing noises, and it happens over and over again. Eventually, they turn their headlights on and they see a person there, but they don't look right. And the way that the person described in the story was they were covered head to toe in mud, pale mud, which I don't know if you've ever seen this, but a lot of mud in the wild, whenever it dries white.
Yeah.
And they said that they were definitely human because they're sitting here staring at these things, and they're only like a few yards away. So they have like really good look at these things. And there's things about them that do look off, almost like there was inbreeding happening. And there's a handful of them, and then they're trying to book it out of there, and like they're on this really narrow road, so it's really hard. But every time the headlights from the truck go off the people get closer to them, and eventually more and more people.
I think I know where you're going with this.
Yeah, and eventually they're pulling back on this road, and they pull over a fallen tree that was not there when they were coming into this little area off of this logging road. So essentially, these people had cut down a tree trying to block them in. And this whole thing is based around the concept that there are thousands of accounts of feral
Feral
people.
people. I knew it. I was like, he's gonna say feral people.
And
I
so
see this pop up as a thing a lot
yeah.
in whenever I do these kind of research, because I've even seen where game wardens and forest rangers have actually said there's no such thing as Bigfoot, but there are such things
Yeah.
as feral people.
Yeah. And that's kind of where I'm landing. I think that there could be feral people all over the world. People who have chosen to live in the wild in groups of people. They end up having inbreeding. They develop their own weird language or form of communication with each other. And I'm gonna send you this. And they they'll cover themselves up in furs that they've killed from wild animals and that kind of stuff. And the rest of the encounters are people's imaginations running wild with them. They see something they can't quite they don't understand, they're not expecting to see. So they in their head see an 8 foot tall creature when it's really just a 6 foot tall man covered in fur that he's put on himself to look like that. Or they see a rake who is really skinny and emaciated and super white skin, and they look bald, but it's really these wild people who probably have the tools to cut their hair and look like that. But here is a video that I came across on TikTok. I want to credit the creator. It's from Cryptic with two P's and two I's. And it's a video, and this absolutely looks like somebody's just standing there. And here, you just take a look. That second shot where
That's creepy. Like he got closer.
yeah,
Me gusta.
that that is way more terrifying in my opinion than a
The only
Bigfoot.
thing, and I agree, because like I've said, I've come across this theory where people think that that's what it is, but then you do have stories of people who have gone missing in the woods and come back, and they say they were taken care of by a Bigfoot,
Yeah,
and they will say
those are rarer. Those are more rare.
they are rare, but there are some that
Or she was jerking the ween. It's real. It's real. A guy really said it. I'm just saying.
I know.
Oh, you can't do that.
Um,
And then nature happened.
but yeah, I mean, I have seen where people have, especially with Bigfoot, there's been a tie. I haven't seen it so much with the rake, but the rake is newer. But I could see it being more of that, especially because they are, I don't know. And especially that guy said he was 5'10", and that thing stood way above his truck. And this is not me putting, but we're tall. We are taller
Above
than
5'10".
by a little bit. And I mean, I think in that kind of a shocking moment, yeah, we could look like
Yeah.
we,
Again, I think it's
especially when we were in college and we were really skinny.
the power of suggestion. Yeah, the power of suggestion would go a really long way here. And like so many of the videos are so obscure. It could most of like the Bigfoot videos that you see absolutely could be some person just with a fur suit on, or whatever. As a matter of fact, I have indeed seen it was actually one of the clearest things of Bigfoot that I had ever seen, and it literally just looks like a guy sitting there with a human face, just covered in fur, just covered in fur. The guy's like it was really his face, like it was a human face, and like so I think a lot of these instances, I think this also could be like a reason for disappearances.
Well, that's what that's what a lot of people are saying, is that they believe
Yeah.
that's a cause for a lot of the disappearances
Yeah.
in the in especially in the
Yeah.
Appalachia. But even in all of the woods.
Hmm.
And I
All of
know
them, all of those woods.
well, I mean, that's where they tend to take place.
Yeah, well, that's where
Um,
like these people, and we know feral people really exist. There's like, no, it's not just, oh, these are stories. Like there are documented things of people finding feral people,
yeah.
like, and they bring them back into society, and they're crazy, wild, and that kind of stuff.
There's still the flip side where I have come to a point in my faith where I'm like, I don't know everything.
Yeah,
I don't know everything, even in the spiritual realm. So I leave it open for could there be? Absolutely. Because I can't pretend to know everything.
yeah.
Because,
Well, that's
as you said, not everything's told to us. Only what's important has been told to us.
yeah. I say
And
that theory right after I say, could it be real?
sure,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I
Um,
think we kind of land in the same area.
yeah.
Like, it could be a lot of things. It could be, but I've found where people believe that it is the feral people. I know that they exist. There's been too many people that are like, yeah, they exist. There's no debunking that.
Hmm.
Are they the same thing? Possibly, possibly.
It's a good theory.
Yeah, I mean, and it's in a theory is a
There's
theory.
there's no way to prove it for sure. Um,
Without going and trying to find out yourself, and I ain't trying to do that.
no, I'm not gonna do that, man.
I ain't trying to get killed. Well, which is funny because when they do find missing people, when they find pieces of them, and I don't mean their bodies, I mean like they find their cameras or their
Hmm.
stuff. A lot of times there's evidence. Like I've seen recently, there was these girls, and then all of a sudden they had been taking pictures, and they looked like somebody was behind them, and then they're running in pictures like it was still snapping, and then they find their camera, and you can tell that they were in fear. They were
Hmm.
running and trying to get away from stuff. What was chasing them?
Yeah,
But it looks like it seemed like it was just a person. Well, that is what feral people are. They're just people.
yeah.
So I don't know. I don't if the thing truly was over 7 foot tall, and it looked like that. I don't know what that is. That kind of leans more into that. There's stuff that I believe that there's stuff within the spiritual realm that I cannot always explain. There are things probably in this world that I can't explain, and I won't know all of the answers, and I don't need to know all of the answers. But
So but I will say this. I agree with you, but the 911 call, this is how I imagine it playing out in my head.
Put it in reverse.
How about a bumper sandwich, booger lips?
easily the best Ernest movie of all time.
Yeah.
It is my favorite.
And I love it, even though it terrified me as a kid.
It did terrify you. You was so afraid that you were going to
I
get
was
turned
so scared. I had
into a
nightmares
wooden
about
doll.
it. Nightmares about it. I remember I had a nightmare where I walked into my room and I was in my old house. You remember my old house? And I walked past my closet and the thing jumped out of my closet, and right as it got me to turn me into a wooden doll, I woke up. I've remembered that my entire life. That was 34 years ago. Oh, but
Oh,
so
you were an easily scared.
easily scareable child, yeah.
Yeah.
That was my mom's fault.
Well, everything's always the mama's fault.
Yeah, no. But yeah, that's how I imagined it happening. That's not human. It's not human.
Oh,
Oh,
booger lips.
yeah.
Oh.
But well, I think we've pretty much talked this rabbit hole out. We have gone to the end of it.
We have.
But
We have. So,
so
well,
yeah, that's that's my final thoughts.
yeah.
Ernest Scared Stupid.
Yeah. All right. Well, Buck, I love you. Now get out of my burrow.
Appreciate that. You're such a jerk. What if I needed a place to stay?
Well, you can stay on the couch.
Okay.
How's that? We can make a pallet for you on the floor like we used to do when we was kids.
Floor's dirty. It's burrows.
Hey,
Got bugs on it.
we keep this a very clean burrow.
All right. Well,
All
we'll
right.
see you next time.
All right. Bye.
Down and down the rabbit hole.